my wife's betrayal, and my mother's ultimatum. I never thought I would be the one telling a story like this. You hear about these situations, read them online, shake your head, and think, that could never be me. Yet, here I am. My wife, Rachel, and I had been married for 5 years. Our son, or at least the boy I believe was mine, had just turned 2. I loved that child more than anything in the world. He had my eyes, my smile, or at least that's what everyone told me. And I believed it. I believed in my little family. Until 3 weeks ago, I was at work when Rachel called me, her voice trembling. She asked me to come home, saying we needed to talk. My heart sank. My first thought was that something terrible had happened to our son. I broke every speed limit getting home, only to find her sitting at the kitchen table, pale, hands shaking, and eyes red from crying. I'll never forget the first words that came out of her mouth. "He's not yours." It felt like my world collapsed. My entire body went numb, and I had to sit down. I prayed that I had misunderstood, that she meant something else. But then she explained. She told me that during what she called a rough patch in our marriage, she had an affair just one time, she insisted. A mistake. She sobbed, swearing she hadn't known the truth until recently when the other man, Liam, reached out, demanding a paternity test. Apparently, he had suspected all along and finally decided to confirm it. And confirm it did. I remember laughing, a dry, bitter sound that didn't even feel like my own. I looked at the woman I had built a life with and saw nothing but a stranger. I asked her why she waited so long to tell me, why she let me believe I was that child's father, why she stole 2 years of my life. Her excuse? She was scared. She had hoped it wasn't true. And when Liam reached out, she realized she couldn't hide it anymore. That night, I packed a bag and left. But my mother was furious, not at Rachel, but at me. She told me that marriage was about forgiveness, that Rachel had made a mistake but had come clean, and that as a man, as a father, I had a duty to stay. Blood doesn't make a family, she kept saying. I told her, love doesn't make a lie true either. That child was my son in every way except the one that made Rachel's betrayal so devastating. The next day, I called a lawyer. When I told my mother I was filing for divorce, she gave me an ultimatum. Forgive her or you're no longer my son. I told her she had made her choice. And so I made mine. The last few weeks have been hell. I moved in with my best friend, started therapy, and have been trying to untangle the mess Rachel left behind. She begged me to reconsider, to go to counseling, to think of the little boy who still called me daddy. And God, that's the hardest part. I don't know what hurts more, losing my wife or losing my son. But how can I stay in his life when every time I look at him, I'm reminded of the lie? Liam, the biological father, wants to be involved now. Rachel says she wants me to be in the boy's life too. But I can't pretend everything is fine. I can't be a backup dad just because she made a mistake. And my mother? She stopped speaking to me. She followed through on her threat, choosing Rachel over her own son. Through my sister, I found out that my mom is helping Rachel with my son, acting like the same grandmother she always was. Maybe in her mind, she believes she's doing the right thing. Maybe she just doesn't want to admit that she raised a man who refuses to be walked over. The divorce is in motion. I don't regret filing, even though it feels like my heart is being ripped apart. I regret the years I wasted, the love I gave freely to someone who didn't deserve it. But I don't regret choosing myself for the first time in a long time. Some people will call me heartless for walking away from that little boy. Maybe they're right. Maybe I should have found a way to stay in his life. But right now, I need to survive this. I need to rebuild. And that starts with cutting out the people who think betrayal should be forgiven just because it's easier than facing the truth.